Hey everybody, welcome back. This is your girl Birdie with Birdie Spoils once again. Today, we are spoiling the one and only, I guess it's the second. It's not the one and only. Well, it's the one and only Super Troopers 2, not technically the one and only Super Troopers movie. Anyways, it doesn't matter. We are here today to spoil Super Troopers 2. I am super stoked about Super Troopers 2 for many reasons. The first one being Super Troopers has had a special place in my heart since I think I was a sophomore in high school when it came out, and I shouldn't tell this story because I know my mom's gonna see this. I'm sorry, Mom. This was probably the only movie that I ever went to see in the movie theater that I lied about going to see. I think it was less about like being worried my mom didn't want me to go as being worried my dad didn't want me to go. And it was the funniest thing I'd ever seen at that point in my life. There were so many solid one-liners and ridiculous moments that just really stuck with me. So for those that don't know, the guys that made this movie, their production group is called Broken Lizard. And when they announced several years ago that they were considering doing a second one and they were starting a Kickstarter for it, I was so stoked. And as soon as they opened it up, of course, I became a backer or backer. What do they call it? Is it just a backer? It doesn't matter. Anyways, I immediately signed up. It was just really, really neat seeing it all come together over time. And I think because of that, I was far more invested in this movie than I would have been if they had just put out a Super Troopers 2. That being said, I was cautiously optimistic, but I was by no means convinced that it was going to be any good. I went in with an open mind though. I was still excited to see it. I just wasn't expecting much out of it. I was shocked. It was way, way better than what I was expecting. Now, no, I'm not going to say this is an Academy Award winning film by any means, believe me, but in some ways it was better than the first one. In some ways it wasn't, but in some ways it was better than the original Super Troopers. I think I can explain that by telling you, and you may have had this experience as well. When I watched the first Super Troopers, the first third of the movie is rolling on the floor laughing. That kind of middle section is still really great. There's lots of good stuff in there, but it starts to die off a little bit. In the the last third of that movie, usually I fall asleep. I know that's horrible to admit, but the last bit of that movie is just not interesting, right? Like, no one actually cares about the drug ring and who's doing what and where the drugs went and all that stuff. So the difference is that with the second one, I genuinely liked the story. It was interesting. It was more robust than the original story. It had more intrigue and it really gave its all to creating a better movie-going experience than the first one. I was interested from start to finish. There was no point in the movie where I was like, this was super boring or anything. There were a couple small lulls, but nothing that was bad enough or long enough I felt like taking a nap. So as far as the story itself goes, essentially these guys have gone years and years without being on the Super Troopers force. All of a sudden, they get called back in for a sort of very strange operation. There is a town on the American-Canadian border that has traditionally been considered a Canadian town. Because of some map issues, they realize it's actually an American town, so they have to send a group of Americans to become the new troopers in that area. What you've got is this group of misfits that are suddenly brought back together for the first time in a very long time, but there is a slightly unwelcoming crowd of Canadians that isn't too stoked about losing their Canadian heritage and kind of gives the guys a hard time, especially the Mounties that had previously run that area. I genuinely love how they handle all of those typical Canadian stereotypes. Yeah, it's stupid, but it makes for some of the funniest material in the movie. One thing that's really cool too is they kind of buck some of those stereotypes, especially the one about Canadians being nice. The one thing that I will say I did not enjoy, a special guest star who played the guy in charge of that town, right? So he's the mayor or something, whatever Canadians have. Do they have mayors? I don't know. It's Rob Lowe. And As much as I love Rob Lowe, he was horrible in this role. Like, horrible. He tried to put on this fake Canadian accent the entire movie, and it was bad to the point of distracting. Every time he was on screen, all I could think about was how horrible he was doing and how bad that accent was. It just ruined every scene that he was in for me. And it made me very sad. It made me sad to no end. Rob Lowe, why did you do this to me? Anyways, there were some other great characters in the movie though. Some of the Mounties were flippin' hilarious. There were tons of throwbacks to the first movie, but they were done in subtle ways so that I didn't spend the whole movie thinking about the first movie, which was great. It reminded me enough to make me giggle or be like, oh yeah, from the first one, you know, but it wasn't like the entire time I was just thinking like, oh, the first movie was so funny. Ha. And this movie sucks. No, it was beautifully done. Farva was by far the standout character. Everything he did was hilarious. I think the most underutilized character was actually Ramathorn, unfortunately. It seemed like he just faded into the background. He really didn't have much of a role. The opening was really weird. I didn't like that. You know, the opening of the first movie was genuinely one of the funniest things in movie history. We didn't get that in this one. There was a Mountie montage that was all about them playing pranks on each other, and it's beautiful. So there was a really cool twist in the movie too. I was shocked to have been shocked. You think of a movie like this and you don't necessarily expect them to be able to get ya, but I mean, they got me. So there were two twists, right? The first one, I totally saw coming. I have to think like maybe they made it obvious on purpose so you wouldn't be expecting the second twist. So I thought that was a really, really cool thing that they did, and it was very smart. There is an awesome scene where they all end up high for reasons and they're all hallucinating, and oh my God, I had tears in my eyes. I was losing it. There was a terrifying scene with a saw. I don't want to give away all the details, but holy Jesus, hold on to your penis. And speaking of penis, there was a little bit of gratuitous penis in the movie. So if that's the kind of thing you're looking for, this movie has you covered. Overall, I really, really enjoyed it. I was pleasantly surprised. I think they did a really great job with it. It was definitely left open for a third movie. In fact, the Broken Lizard guys are already talking about a third movie. I want to hear your thoughts if you've seen it. If you haven't, I want you to go see it and then tell me what you thought about it. If you want to chit chat about this, leave comments in the comment section down below, or you can jump into my Discord. I'll link that in the description. If you haven't already, please do subscribe. Go ahead and click that like button. I am the BIRDIESAURUS. You can find me on Twitter for day-to-day ramblings, usually. And I will talk to you guys next time. Bye!